Welcome everyone who's joining us today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from.
I wrote a sticky note and put it on my computer that says, "Be the sponge."
There are some school-specific sponsorships which make you feel like more inclined towards them.
While you're an MBA, you have unprecedented access to a lot of people, be it alums, recruiters, so your professors, your career services. Make the most out of your time, talk to people.
Welcome everyone who's joining us today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from.
I wrote a sticky note and put it on my computer that says, "Be the sponge."
There are some school-specific sponsorships which make you feel like more inclined towards them.
While you're an MBA, you have unprecedented access to a lot of people, be it alums, recruiters, so your professors, your career services. Make the most out of your time, talk to people, get a clear understanding of what you want to go into.
Hello, everyone. That was an amazing trailer. And I think everyone who's watching, if you're wondering, what that was about, that was the MBA Spotlight Fair that GMAT Club is hosting on June 13th and 14th. Please register. The registration link is in the chat if you're planning to apply to business school in the coming year. The 23 fall application, round one or round two. Well, I think, I hope, we hope to cover a lot of ground about, business school admissions and applications with these amazing panelists, who decided to join us and who are about to embark on their, business school journey in a couple of months. So without further ado, I'm just going to get straight into the session. Please keep your questions coming while I will be moderating this panel and introducing all the panelists in a short while. And I have my questions ready. I will take questions as and when you start posting them. So once I think you'll have an introduction of the panelists, maybe you'll have a better idea about asking the kind of questions that you want to. All right. So today we are going to speak about how to get into a leading business school. This is a panel I think we do every year. This year we are doing two of these, one with GMAT Club and one which we do on our own platform every year in about June or July. I lead the MBA admissions consulting team at the Red Pen. We have services from early advising, which is pre-college advising, starting from 8th grade, going right until PhD over 10 plus years, and 7 locations globally, amazing admits. I want to just share this slide, which has been our final MBA admits for this last application cycle. Every top school is over here, and I think it gives me immense pleasure and joy to just look at this slide year on year and just the talk to all these applicants to understand the sweat, blood, tears which actually goes into making this slide a reality through the entire year. All right. This is I always like to cover this slide a little bit in every presentation. This is your profile evaluation criteria. Everyone should just take a snapshot of this slide, which gives you the elements which admissions officers are looking at when evaluating your profile. In every webinar that I do, I make it a point to at least talk about the slide for about a couple of seconds. So, make sure that, your academic potential, which is at the bottom of the pile, that is solid. You have to have an undergrad degree, otherwise you're not eligible to apply for an MBA. Solid GMAT, GRE scores, though there are exceptions, right? There are instances where GMAT or GRE has been on the lower side, still you have an admit. There could be an exception. It could just be, you just got lucky in a particular year of application. Work experience for international applicants, we do recommend minimum 3 years of work experience. The brand matters to an extent, but the impact that you create at your work matters a lot more. So make sure that, you build your leadership experiences, which is in demonstrated leadership. Your goals matter a lot. They should be realistic yet ambitious, and they should be aligned with what the school, can provide you. So school always wants to admit, students who will be a strong addition to their community. At the same time, they are sure that this is someone who will be set up for success once they're on campus. Extracurricular activity, usually during and after college. Please do not consider extracurriculars before that when you are like a 7-year-old or something, doesn't matter. And fit, which is your cultural fit with a certain, program. Okay. Now, this is today's panel, okay? And I'm going to have each one of the panelists introduce themselves with the following information. Guys, I want you to tell me your name, the university which you attended, that is your undergrad, the current company that you work for, or the company that you worked for when you applied, the schools that you applied to, the one that you're finally attending, and finally the one thing which you think stood out for you in the applicant pool. Let's start with you, Shweta.
All right. Thank you so much, Preeti. So, hi everyone. My name is Shweta Krishnamurthy. I graduated with a BTech in mechanical engineering from IIT Kharagpur in 2018. I'm currently working as a data scientist for Goldman Sachs, and I applied to 8 schools: Booth, Haas, Stern, Wharton, Kellogg, Sloan, Ross, Anderson. So I have to literally count on my fingers how many schools I've applied to. And finally, I'm going to be attending Booths. Really excited for that. And I think the one thing that actually stood out in my application was my passion for technology and my work experience that was completely aligned with it right from my college degree up until my post MBA goals as well. So I think that story really connected very well. So I think that's the thing that stood out for my application.
Okay, before we go to the next panelist, I do want to say that out of those 8 schools, Shweta had admits from 6 schools, in case anyone is curious. And she's finally attending Booth, that's a different thing. Yes, Hardik.
Yeah, hi everyone. This is Hardik. I graduated in 2019 from Thapa University as a computer science engineer and then worked with ZS Associates in their healthcare consulting practice for 2 years, and then switched gears and joined Impact Guru as a chief of staff to the co founders, working closely in the medical crowdfunding space. I applied to again 8 schools, both spread across both the rounds: INSEAD, LBS, Wharton, Yale, Kellogg, Cornell, Ross, and Columbia. And yeah, I'm heading to Yale. One thing that worked out really well for me was getting deep into figuring out what are the resources that I can leverage into and then aligning them into my post MBA goals. And that really stood out both in the essays as well as in the interview.
Excellent. Thank you, Hardik. Yes, Shubhangi.
Hi guys, my name is Shubhangi. I have a BTech from Institute of Chemical Technology. My specialization was a bit different. It was in surface coating technology. I'm currently working as a product manager in Purple. I applied to London Business School, Yale, and Wharton, and I'm finally attending London Business School. I think one thing that really stood out for me was my work experience. When I joined Purple, Purple was valued at 150 million, and today it's valued at 1.1 billion dollars. And I have seen Purple grow like that, and my professional journey has paralleled that. I think that story worked really well for me.
Great. Awesome. Rohan, over to you.
Thanks, Priti. Hey, everyone. My name is Rohan. I graduated from Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur in 2018, majoring in industrial engineering. And I currently work as a product manager in Goldman Sachs in the fintech arm. Prior to Goldman Sachs, I've had experience in fintech companies across India as well as the States. So I had a fairly strong fintech profile. I applied to 8 schools across both the rounds: Booth, Columbia, Wharton, Stern, Michigan Ross, Kellogg, UCLA Anderson, and MIT Sloan. And I'll be attending Chicago Booth School of Business from fall this year. And I think one thing which stood out in my application was, my school research. I had a fairly strong fintech profile and very strongly aligned goals in the fintech industry. So researching schools in that light kind of helped me, position my story in a stronger sense, and I felt that really stood out.
Great, awesome. By the way, Rohan also secured, admits to 4 out of those schools that he mentioned, and he was waitlisted at one more school as well for a brief period. Um, but yeah, I worked with Rohan, so I know that he's attending his dream school. Aditya, Aditya, you're on mute. Anyone else here? No. Aditya, you want to hop out and then hop back in? Yeah? We'll continue with some of the questions and then we'll have you introduced once you join back. All right, so let's get in the questions, everyone. So, before I get into this question, if I wanted to understand the timing of your MBA, but I think the curiosity is about GMAT scores. So, can you guys, in order in which you'll introduce yourself, can you please share your GMAT or GRE scores?
Yeah, I had a 730, quant 50, and verbal 39.
Yeah, same for me. I had 730, Q51, and V38.
I had a 750, verbal 42, and quant 49.
I had a 760, quant 50, and verbal 42.
Great. Thank you so much. I hope this satisfies the curiosity. I don't have much to speak about GMAT and GRE scores because I'm not a test prep expert. My role only starts after there is a test score. So that I won't go into too much detail. We definitely have a question on test prep, which we will come to that. So on our panel, because we have how did you all decide that this is the right time for your MBA? Rohan, Shweta, and Aditya, I would like you guys to answer this question. How did you decide the timing of your MBA?
I can probably go first. So, I think at the time of application, I had spent 4 years, like I said, in the fintech industry. I'd worked across three organizations. I started my career in Capital One, worked in the US market, and then I switched gears to a startup focusing on fintech in the Indian market, and then switched gears back to focusing on the fintech industry through Goldman Sachs. So I had developed a strong understanding of how the fintech industry works across different markets, and I wanted to accelerate my career and get a high level understanding of other industries where I could use my skill sets. And I felt that this was the right time to take a step towards the leadership development as well as gain exposure to different industries, as I had built the necessary understanding of building and scaling different kinds of tech solutions. So yeah.
Yeah, adding on to what Rohan just said, for me specifically, my experience has also been in fintech. At the time of application, I had 4 years of experience in Goldman and another fintech company where I was working as a data scientist or machine learning engineer. What I felt was that for me, I wanted to pivot into product management for big tech. And for that, it was the right time because otherwise, if I were to continue more in this same role and the same kind of industry, then I'll get pigeonholed. So I wanted to pivot at this point. This was the perfect time for it. So that's why I thought that, okay, I'm also hitting that 5 year mark, which is the average amount of experience that all these leading business schools look for. So I thought this is the perfect time for me to apply.
Great. What about you? So yeah, Aditya is not here. So let's take this question. I want Hardik and Shubhangi to answer this. That you guys are coming from these innovative smaller firm with a very unique value proposition, right? Um, how did you evaluate the value of an MBA, and what did you envision as your post MBA career?
Yeah, maybe Shubhangi, you can go first.
Sure. For me, I think one of the things was that my current role is more execution focused. I think an MBA will sort of propel my career in a way where I can look at more strategy focused roles. My ambition is always to work in small companies and startups and building things from ground up. And that is how I plan to use my MBA experience.
Yep. So for me, while I was applying for the MBA, I was at the cusp of taking leadership roles here at Impact Guru, and I was handling the entire business vertical, though the entire P&L responsibility was not on me. And as I envision to do so, I see myself lacking in some of the softer elements of business management, particularly dealing with organizational dilemmas or solving negotiation cases. And that in itself, I thought a structured business education would be a great fit at this point of time for me to go for an MBA, to not only solve for or to learn the hardcore uh, business concepts, but also understand some of the softer elements of people management. And that's why MBA came into picture for me. And I see myself sticking to the similar healthcare consulting space, where I look forward to again solving the problem of healthcare financing at a much broader level. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember, Hardik, when I'd first seen your resume, I was very excited because I thought that, I look at resumes first, like all admissions officers, they will look at a resume to see the strength of, your profile and, what you truly bring to the community. And I remember, Hardik, looking at your resume, and I saw a lot of promise, back then. We did go through a lot of ups and downs, which you and we know through the journey. But, let me tell you, we were so happy for you. We were so happy because, we took you on board because, we believed in that story, right? All right. Now, Aditya is back. So, Aditya, I want you to introduce yourself. Still cannot hear. That's a bummer because I really want people to hear Aditya's story. His background is in impact consulting, and he's going to Tuck. And I think a lot of people, Tuck is a very small business school, very tough to get into, and I really want people to know his side of the story. So I'm going to try to get someone to kind of help him from my team. And in the meanwhile, I want all the panelists to give one, okay, not more, one tip for standardized test preparation. All of you all have strong scores. Give one tip.
I can go first. I think the one tip that I can give is don't get emotionally attached to the questions. I mean, half the score, like you can, I'm sure that you will score at least a 700 by just finishing the paper end to end, GMAT. So therefore, don't get emotionally attached. If you are not able to get an answer within that 2 minutes, just guess and move on. So that's my one tip.
Superb.
Yep, maybe I can go next, which is get used to the test taking environment. And this was actually that worked for me, where I was getting my desired scores in the mocks, but I was not able to replicate in the real world, right? And by the time I took the GMAT twice, the second time I already knew the staff who would be handling the test center. I knew where to keep my chocolates and water bottle, and that in itself became very you know favorable for me to get used to the environment, and test felt like taking it from home itself.
Excellent.
Yep, I can probably go
Rohan.
next. So I think I got a 710 in my first attempt, and I gave my second attempt shortly after a couple of months, and but I had a prep time of about 2 weeks in my second prep. I think a couple of things worked out really well for me, and I've also suggested the same to some of my friends, and they've also gotten great scores. One is that the GMAT verbal section requires a lot of focus in order to read the question and understand really what is it that they're asking. So to develop some focus, I practice mindfulness. I meditate for like 10 minutes every day, especially during the time when you have your test. And in order to sort of, like Shweta said, you should just not get attached to the questions and just move on very quickly. So in order to save some time, I also developed a reading habit. I read a book for half an hour every day, so that kind of sped up my reading speed, and which helped gave me precious couple of seconds to answer some tricky questions.
That's a great tip. Great tip. For those who are non-readers, this could be a game changer. This one thing might just change, your score. Shubhangi.
Yeah, I think it's very important to analyze what exactly is your weakness. If it's CR and a particular type of CR that you're not able to do, just spend as much time analyzing the test that you have given as you are in preparing. And while you do that, just have patience with yourself.
Awesome. Brilliant. I think, I hope that one tip helps everyone. Aditya is back. Aditya, can you do you want to join on your phone? Is there a link? If someone from GMAT Club can, just help you join on your phone, is if even if you're not visible, hopefully, people can hear you.
Sure, sure. Yes, Aditya, I'm sending you the StreamYard link. You can join it from your mobile. Okay.
All right. Okay, now let's come back to school selection. I think this is the most important part of the application. Okay, and many people who we are talking to at this point of time who are planning to apply in round one and round two, many come to us saying that oh, we have a list ready. But many, there's another section who are like we don't know what kind of schools do we get started with. So I think we all have like different backgrounds, right? Aditya is more around research, around sustainability, and Rohan and Shweta fintech product strategy. Hardik is more about healthcare finance, like you just spoke about. Shubhangi's his focus was more I think passion for startups, building something new. So I think I want each one of you to just tell me, was there a strategy when y'all selected schools, or y'all just went about with your instinct? How was the school selection process for you? Then we'll come to school research.
I can go first on this. So, the strategy that I followed was actually given to me by my lead consultant at TRB, which actually worked out very well. It is basically, if you know what you're going to do, what you want to do post MBA. For example, for me, it was going into tech product management for big tech companies like Google and Apple. Just go to LinkedIn, search for people who are working for Google and Apple, search for product manager or strategy and ops, those keywords, and find people and see which schools they went to. So find a resume twin amongst those, and that could be one way to identify which school you can could be a good fit. The other thing was reaching out to as many alums and students as possible, so that you get to know not just the things that are mentioned on the website, but also there are a lot of softer things regarding the ethos of the school, what are some values, the core values of the school, which you get to know only when you are actually talking to students and alumni. So and that is something that adcoms also look for in your essays and in your interviews. So talking to as many alumni and students is really important to first understand whether this school is a good fit for you, and second, also it has a dual purpose that your school research is already halfway done and you can just go ahead and start your essays. So that's the strategy that I followed for shortlisting my schools.
Did you?
And
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
sorry, last thing that I wanted to add was definitely have a good mix of dream, target, and safe schools. Definitely, all of us want to go to our dream schools, but it's very good to actually have target and safe schools in the mix as well. So yeah,
I agree.
that's the last thing I wanted to add.
That's a great tip, and I could not agree more. Just go, all in for your dream schools. But if MBA is something on your mind, have an open mind. Look at some of the target schools, look at some of the safe schools. It boosts your confidence. Once you have an admit, it plays on your confidence in your mind in a very different way. Okay, Shubhangi, why don't you go next?
So for me, one of the things that I was looking at was geography. I was also particularly interested in pursuing my MBA somewhere closer to home, like in Europe. And that is why I applied to very few US schools. This was one of the things that was in my mind when I was deciding schools. And apart from that, yes, talking to seniors definitely helped. I think even more than the professional outcomes, what I was looking for was an immersive experience at an MBA school. And I think speaking to alumni actually gave me the insight as to which school I really want to go to.
Wonderful. Hardik, why don't you tell me more about how did you arrive at those list of schools?
Yeah, for me, I think it was a roller coaster ride where in round one, I was completely focused on the dream schools. I thought I had a strategy in hand, but it backfired very badly. And then in round two, that's when things started coming into place, where I literally created list of 5 schools, and then my major focus for those 5 schools was figuring out what are the resources where I can leverage the healthcare focused courses and healthcare focused clubs, and other conferences that would help me pivot into more healthcare consulting, and then figuring out and building a story on that. Of course, there was a list of dream, reach, and target schools, but the major alignment was towards figuring out the resources that I can leverage.
Great. Hardik, I think kudos to you and bravo for just accepting that this strategy really backfired. Because I usually keep saying that when it's round one and round two, many people do this. They will go all for dream schools in round one, and they'll be like, if this doesn't work, then let me do the other schools, target and safety schools in round two. My limited and everyone should own their decision. I mean, I'm all for it. Do not do something just because some consultant basically tells you to do. Own your strategy, right? But my limited input over here is always have a list of dream target safety schools for round one and dream target safety schools for round two.
Yeah.
Breaking that up and having an admit in hand at the end of round one definitely boosts your confidence. Okay.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
so I think, okay, great. Rohan, why don't you go next?
I think pretty much everything has been covered by Shweta, Hardik, and Shubhangi, and I kind of led with everything that has been said. I would like to just quickly stress on geography was one of the reasons I applied to. That was my selection criteria as well. My undergrad was in a place which was very remote, so I wanted to be near a big city. So that was one of the things, and with my interest in fintech and big tech, I wanted proximity to those industries as well. And yeah, I could not stress enough on the school research aspect, because the more people you talk to, the more it's kind of a vibe check that you get, whether you like that community, whether you want to be a part of the community. And I think, Preeti, it was your advice, but it definitely had that you need to visualize yourself in a school. And once you visualize yourself, then that would sort of reinforce what is it that you're looking for, and it'll give you more confidence in building your story and applying to that school.
Brilliant. Awesome. Aditya, you're back. Can we hear you?
Yeah. So can you hear me
Yes.
now?
Yes, we can
Oh,
hear you
finally.
loud and clear. So we're going to
Okay.
go back and have you introduce yourself, and then I have a couple of questions for you.
Okay. So first of all, I apologize for all the interruptions. So I'll start by my introduction. So I'm Aditya Kumar. I'm also IIT Kharagpur graduate. So I think we have quite a few members from IIT Kharagpur today. So I am a mechanical engineering graduate from 2017, and I have worked in oil and gas industry since then. So around 5.5 years, I have worked with ExxonMobil. But my work was a bit niche. So I was working in the polymer division or chemicals division. I was working in the sustainability space, so sustainable packaging. And post MBA also, I was quite clear that I want to pursue this space, sustainability. So that's how I kind of decided, to pursue MBA and also shortlisted schools. So I applied to quite a number of schools, both in the US as well as in the UK. So in the US, I applied to 6 schools, if I remember correctly. I think these were MIT, Kellogg, Cornell, Tufts, Fuqua, and Keenan Flagler. And in the UK, I applied to Oxbridge, so Oxford and Cambridge. So I finally I'm going attending Tuck School of Business. Yeah, so that's pretty much about me.
Excellent, excellent. I think Aditya, I want to understand why did you think this was the right time to do your MBA?
Yeah. So I think just after graduation, I was quite clear that I need to understand the business world, and I was quite clear that I don't want to pursue higher studies or an MBA just after graduation. So intentionally, it was a choice to explore industries, explore functions. So even after joining Exxon, I worked in I think 3 functions: first in supply chain, then in marketing, and then in sales. So first of all, I understood my inclination towards a particular industry. Then I understood my inclination towards some functions, and then I finally, what kind of domain that I really want to pursue. So once I had done all of that and also done some impactful work, I thought that this is the right time where I need to, kind of broaden the impact, the scale of my work, and go beyond the typical South Asia geography that I was operating in. Try to go at a global level, and also to be more strategic, because most of my work was project management or on the execution part of it, and I wanted to take up strategic roles in sustainability. And I think both these factors kind of led me to pursue an MBA, because MBA is a degree where first of all you can do things at a strategic level, at a global level, and also understand business as a whole, not be just a part of execution or a part of a function of the larger scheme of things. So I think that's how I decided this is the right time for me.
Yeah, I think that is great. And I'm glad you spoke a little bit about this, because I think doing this groundwork, you said that I had done some impactful work, and I knew which direction to take my career in. Especially those of you who applying from oil and gas, right? The industry
Yeah.
itself is going a massive change. The energy
True.
industry is just tilting, a little bit. So I think, it's expected at business school that, many people from the oil and gas industry will apply with a focus on, moving to renewable energy, sustainability, impact options, right? Green hydrogen, that. So I think those stories also are kind of showing up a lot, especially when, applicants from ONG are applying now. So I think, in this situation, see what happens, guys, when there is an industry is changing, many people will try to, shift their careers accordingly in that direction. And then you see a surge in business school applications with, common post MBA goals. And in this situation, differentiating your profile in an MBA application for a particular school becomes very, very important. The same is the thing with fintech right now. The number of people who will apply, either whether they're currently in fintech, and Rohan and Shweta, you can chip in and correct me if I'm wrong, people who apply from within fintech, or people who apply, let's say, with an IB background or other finance, focus, and wanting to go into fintech, right? They are fine. That number is also increasing a lot. So we see that these are specific careers. I remember one of the admissions officers, I cannot quote them, but in one of the AGAC conference, because the Red Pen is, a member of the AGAC, which is an Association of International Graduate Admissions Consultants. And, where we get an access, through the annual conference to admissions officers. I remember one of them was told us that, sure, post MBA goals are different for every applicant. And we try to have a diverse class together. However, if you do a bell curve, 80% of those careers are very similar, right? You don't have people going into medicine and law and architecture and, music. It's not that. Most post MBA careers are around business. So some facet of business is what is included in all of that, right? Aditya, before I move to the next line of questioning, I do want to know your tip for GMAT, and everyone wants to know your GMAT score.
Yeah. So before I go to that, I think I remember you asked the panelist about what stood out. I think I missed that part, and I think and I think elaborating on your point, I think a lot of people would know, as you all know, that energy is going through a transition. So a lot of people want to pursue this field, and it's very difficult to differentiate, especially if you are coming from an oil and gas background. So I think for me, it was having a clarity in the post MBA goal. So not just saying that yes, I want to pursue sustainability, but but highlighting how, right? So which kind of industry you want to focus on sustainability, what kind of geography that you are targeting, which kind of typical companies that you are targeting. So having that clarity, and also having some past experiences and transferable skills that can help you stand out when you are pitching those kind of post MBA goals. So that kind of stood out for me. Now coming for your question on GMAT. So yes, I would say that I would proudly say that I gave GMAT multiple times and struggled a bit, and it felt like an embarrassment in the beginning, but then gradually I understood that I was doing multiple things in a wrong way. So what I have learned through those multiple attempts is that first of all, rather than looking out for resources in terms of practicing more questions, changing your strategy every time, looking for external tutors, what you have to do is to focus more on the inside, right? Like to understand what your weaknesses are. And I think every individual has, very different kind of weaknesses. You cannot just talk to someone and try to create a different strategy that worked for them that might not work for you at all. So it took me time, I think, to understand what my weaknesses were. And I think once I did that, I did not practice a lot of questions. I just focused on those weaknesses, deep dived a lot. I remember in the last attempt, before my last attempt, I just practiced, I guess, 20 questions, but I deep dived a lot on them, understood what exactly I was doing wrong, what kind of questions, even if I was doing it correctly, if I was eliminating the wrong options based on right logic, right? So those kind of analysis really helped me, and I was able to really identify what my weaknesses were, and perform to at least to my strengths in the exam. So I could have scored even better, but I think with the 740 score, I was satisfied that it will still give me a seat at the table, and then ultimately I'll be able to, with my goals and with my experiences, I'll still be eligible to the business school that I was applying for.
Excellent. And thanks again, for being very honest, because I'm sure there are people right now going through some level of disappointment that I'm not getting the score, and it's kind of, a barrier. My general pro tip is that, try to get the score in the year before application. And because the GMAT is, valid for 5 years, even if you have that one thought, at some point in my career, I plan to do an MBA, maybe 1%, just give that test. Right, some of us, including myself, are not great standardized test takers. School understands that, so always have corroborative evidence to showcase that you can handle the academic rigor of the MBA program. They will take all those factors into consideration, but the standardized test score, as of at least, I don't know, it's not going anywhere, pretty much soon. The GMAT is actually changing, but they are using, that data point to kind of, it can't be actually said as a point of elimination, but everything being equal, if you have that one thing in your arsenal, then why not, right? All right. Now I have a question on differentiating yourself, and this is a question of interest to all Indian male engineers out there. So Rohan, Aditya, and Hardik, all three Indian male engineers, what was your strategy to differentiate yourself to the schools that you applied to?
I can probably go first. So yeah, I think differentiating is difficult as an Indian male engineer. So I think I took a twofold approach. One was highlighting my career progression. So I started off as a data engineer in a fintech firm, and then internally I switched into a business analyst role, and then shortly after that I switched into a startup in the Indian fintech space as a business analyst, and then I came to Goldman Sachs as a strategy analyst, but then I switched into product management. So I had a lot of career functional as well as company switches in my career. So I use that to sort of showcase, I would say, a multi-dimensional skill set. That I can handle that very highly technical conversation as well as business conversations. And yeah, and I think the second aspect of my story was having a personal who am I outside of work, which I believe most of the business schools they have that prompt as well. So using that prompt to the best extent, because that is where you get to talk of things which are not common among all Indian male engineers. So you can probably talk about your hobbies, your any interesting highlights in the past, and sort of shape a story in the light of the values that the school is looking for. So, if you have a good school research, then you can always frame the story in a manner that you would feel that the school would like this kind of a story. Yeah, so those are my 2 cents.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even for me as well, I think it was tough to differentiate from a story point of view. But what worked for me was showing switching gears at regular intervals, be it switching from technology to healthcare consulting and then to a startup where I took up multiple leadership roles. This was one that worked for me. The other one was giving a justifiable space to extracurriculars in your resume, right, where I made sure that I had good pointers to talk about, and those are exclusively highlighted not just in my resume but in my essays and the shorter essays as well. And in fact, in one of my interviews, we had a good healthy 12 to 15 minutes of discussion on just one point which was highlighted in my extracurriculars in my resume.
Awesome. Perfect. Aditya?
Yeah. So just adding on to what Rohan and Hardik said, I think it's first of all it's difficult to differentiate because first of all, coming from overrepresented pool of candidates, you have to check all the boxes, right? So it goes
Yeah.
without saying you have to perform above par. I think in almost all the components of the application. But that being said, you still have to differentiate. So for me, I think it was, as I said earlier, also clarity in my post MBA goal. That was on the professional front. On the personal front, I think a lot of people say that being authentic is a cliche. It's very difficult to stay authentic, but I think it worked for me because initially when I was working, I was drafting the essays or trying to create my story. I was trying to impress, right? Not being true to my story. Taking out stories which might impress the admission committee, but gradually I realized that even on the personal front, the values that truly resonate with me, I need to highlight that, and I would have experiences to highlight those, right? So once I started doing that, I think my essays became powerful, and both on my professional front in terms of the goals, as well on the personal front in terms of values, I had a very strong story, and I think that could have helped me differentiate myself.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. You guys said, that being authentic is, overused. But I think, when you truly self reflect, and, the MBA application journey is a journey of self reflection, which I think, y'all definitely from where you started to where you are now, y'all are definitely changed in very, small ways. But that's what you bring to the business school classroom. And which is why that self reflection and authenticity is important. So that when you bring your true self, to class, you really get the most out of that $200,000 degree, right? It's an expensive degree, huge opportunity cost. So you want to be very, very sure that you're going to make the most of those 2 years on campus. Um, Shubhangi and Shweta, I want to talk to you both about a little bit about essay development, right? Uh, when it comes to differentiating, right, now we spoke about the whole Indian male engineer angle. Now as women, okay, we are really in a great space. Business schools are looking to actively increase the representation of women in business school classroom. It has been already at 40%, and now Wharton really took that lead, taking it to 52% last year, and all business schools want to kind of hit that 50% mark. Some of the male candidates who come to us say that, oh, you had these success stories, but that was that a woman? And I'm like, that it doesn't really play exactly, because now the number of women who are applying is also equally large. So it's not that women have it easy, it's within the women pool also, it's like very competitive, okay, especially in India and especially in metro cities. So I want to understand now, let's talk a little bit about essay development, because there are questions coming and I just want to take those as well. Tell us, how did you use your roles as women in technology to, develop your essays? How did you kind of use the professional angle is what I want to understand. Okay. And what advice would you give women thinking of how to position their voice and goals as leaders, as women leaders in the technology space? Shubhangi.
So Preeti, for me, I am working in a company where we make products specifically for tier two, tier three women, and I definitely use that as a leverage and highlighted it in my application. Throughout my life, I have tried to build products for women. In my UG, I did a project on making a vending machine for sanitary pads for women, and I think these elements from my life I took out, highlighted my passion for uplifting women, especially in India, and weaved it into a story.
Awesome. Shweta.
Adding on to that, so for me, I took a three-pronged approach. So first is, what are the challenges that I met being a woman in technology? So for example, I have been in male dominated society right from college. I was like one of three women in a class of 200, and even at work, I was like one of like two women in a team of around 15 people. So I really positioned about like how to overcome being underrepresented and how to actually put your voice forth even after being underrepresented. The second prong was actually highlighting the things that I've actually done to not just help myself but also my juniors and my peers. So in college, I used to do a lot of these outreach programs where we would like talk to women, like young girls, and encourage them to pursue STEM degrees and business degrees. So that was the second thing that I highlighted. And the third is how you're going to contribute towards the community at the school that you're applying to, like whether if you're going to be part of the women in business clubs, then what is your concrete plan of increasing representation of women in business. So in that, I just took the examples of outreach and encouragement that I had done in my professional and college life, and extended that, saying that okay, I'll extend that particular skill set of mine and make it easier for women at the school. So yeah, that's what I did in my application, in my
Okay, I think
essays.
very, yeah, very interesting insights. And I'm Interesting that Shweta, you said that even though these numbers, maybe women applying to business school has increased, still on campus I think the number of women who are pursuing STEM degrees is probably still very small.
Yeah.
And hopefully there's this whole movement about increasing those representation, and India still I think has quite some time to catch up, because I think the undergrad state of education in the country, the number of people who actually go to college is not that very very high, right?
Yeah.
um, all right, now I want to talk to you, Hardik, about your combination of experiences. How did you go about linking those key milestones? Because you had those drastic career switches, right? It wasn't like like Shweta and Rohan, they stayed in finance. So there was a when we saw their resumes, we could see that okay, or Aditya, he was in an industry where we could see with these career switches. How did you go about linking these key milestones and career switches to your future goals? Okay, how did you develop your story and tailor it to every school application?
Got it. Yeah. So for me, I think there was a lot of back and forth that was happening while I was, building up my essays. But what worked really well was setting up a cohesive agreement to the career choices that I was making, in whether it was switching from consulting to a startup, and then aligning it properly with the with my long term goal, not necessarily with the short term, but to a broader long term goal, where I actually showcased that being in healthcare consulting, I was working with multiple pharma companies and digital therapeutics client, understanding their problems, and then when I moved to startups, I saw the patient side from the other side of the table, understanding their problems, their situations. And that's where I built up my story, that I literally want to solve this problem of healthcare financing across the world. And medical crowdfunding, though, is one piece of the puzzle, but there are still a large section of the society which cannot be catered to through crowdfunding. So, building up on that, I decided my long term goal to be more towards aligning multiple financial instruments through public private partnerships, and then figuring out my schools that can actually provide me these resources, not only just to learn, but also to build up a good network to work on these. Now, the storyline was more or less along the same trajectory, but what changes that I made was the flavors in those stories based on the schools that I was targeting. For example, Yale has more focus towards social sector and social entrepreneurship. I made sure that my story had that flavor of social enterprise and social ventures. While when I was applying to Kellogg, I made sure that my story was more towards healthcare focused and towards healthcare financing.
Yeah, that's great. So I think knowing the school and where you fit in with the school, I think that's very important. It's like courting like three men or three women at the same time, right? You basically, and you're trying to explore like what is the best fit, right? But there are more, definitely, MBA program is common. The curriculum is common across all business schools. No one is going to teach you marketing, and another business school which is not going to teach you marketing, right? um, which is why differentiating yourself for a particular school become that much more important, because when you write a list of courses, I will learn this taught by this professor, more often than not something similar is taught at another business school, unless you're doing a value investing course at Columbia, where you only go to Columbia for value investing, unless you have a very strong differentiator like that. um, all right. Now I think Aditya already spoke about the whole thing about being authentic, and what about the others, that where did authenticity really play out um in your business school applications? Anyone?
No. Yeah, yeah. I can probably go first. I think in my case, like I said, the personal aspect of my story brought out a lot of authentic elements. I have, some hobbies of my own, which I was, a bit skeptical whether I should mention them or not. Like, for example, I like playing role-playing games, over my laptop. So mentioning that in the light of, having some creative creative interests, like, and even like cooking. So talking about those interests and where they stem from, I think that sort of brought out that authenticity, that even outside of work, I have certain interests which I like to pursue, and there's a mindset behind pursuing those interests. So yeah, I think that played very well, highlighting that apart from the career progression and everything.
Excellent. I think Aditya already spoke about, being authentic. Shweta, you had something to say.
Yeah, so I think really introspecting your entire life through, specifically when I was working with TRP, we had this get to know you questionnaire that was the first step, and it had like around 100 150 questions, and really panning out your entire life, even thinking about instances that you must have forgotten, like things that happened like somewhere far in your childhood, thinking about those instances, and then understanding how those experiences might have shaped your mentality, might have shaped the kind of person you are right now, really helps in bringing out that authenticity, because consultants really give you that 3000 feet view of you as a personality, and that really helps you in understanding how to place your essay very authentically. So for me, that was one way to bring out the authenticity. The second thing was, as Rohan mentioned, the hobbies and interests that I had. A lot of these schools like Kellogg has all of, and even Booth, all of them have these prompts that who are you as a person outside of your professional life, like what are your core values and what are some factors that have shaped you as a person. So all of those, majority of those will not come from your professional life, will definitely come from your personal life and your hobbies and interests. So that's why, like, highlighting those childhood memories to your passion and to your experiences really sets you apart, because it's a story that no one else can tell. So it's something that embodies you. So I guess that's how authenticity really comes into play.
Awesome. I think this is, I'm glad you spoke about our that initial questionnaire, because I think we took a lot of pains to kind of, combine multiple questionnaires. We saw there are schools like Haas. Okay, for those who don't know, they do provide these kind of tools also when it comes to, they do help applicants. Stanford had an entire series, helping applicants how to kind of navigate the whole application process. So we actually reviewed all these best practices. I brought something from my own coaching background, and in terms of, what can help in terms of reflection. And it does try, it's a conversation starter, because even after completing that, I think through multiple those essay developments, we keep going back and, keep going back and forth. But I do want to share with everyone that, all these people who work with us, all five of them, the one thing which is very common is they really owned their applications. Okay, we do end up working with a small bunch of people, who will come to us and, oh, I have come to a consultant, so I think, all my, now you are in charge of, getting me into wherever. But I think, all these people, they really own their applications. And I think that is one thing which I really want to tell everyone, that if you are not in the driver's seat, no matter which coach or consultant, is sitting in that passenger seat, it's not going to help you. If you give that reign of your applications in someone else's hand, neither will you see the results, nor will you enjoy the fruits of your results. Like, when you actually go through that grind, then that success becomes very sweet. And then you truly feel that, what, I deserve this, because I've earned this. Okay, so start early and own that application, own every decision in your application. Make sure you have the right information when you're making any decision, whether to, like Rohan said, whether to write this story or not to write this story. That is where, an external consultant can really add value, whether, because we kind of see, about 100 applicants in a year, so we would be able to see, okay, this is an overrepresented story over this one. I want to take some questions which came in earlier, and I completely overlooked this. Um, how much scholarship you guys got? Does anyone want to answer that question?
Yeah, I can go first. So I got $40,000 dollar scholarship at Booth, around 60,000 at Anderson, and 20,000 at Kellogg.
I can probably go next. So at Booth, I did not get any scholarship. I got a $120,000 scholarship from UCLA Anderson and $20,000 from Michigan Ross.
Okay, great. Um, Okay, someone has asked a question: is tuck better for the sustainability industry? Aditi, you can answer that, but before I pass on, I think the floor to you. My 2 cents are it's not the only school. There are other schools as well, which are great for sustainability. But I will let Aditya answer that.
Yeah, so you're right. It's not just Tuck. I think almost all these schools have something or the other offering in terms of sustainability. So for Tuck, what Tuck has, so Tuck has a reverse center of sustainability, energy innovation. So that is a very unique offering. So you can become a reverse fellow, where you will not only gain insights into the sustainability but energy industry as a whole. So that's unique offering. There are some electives also. So yeah, I think Tuck is unique, but as you said that now since we are moving into this energy transition, a lot of people are pursuing sustainability. So apart from Tuck, I think Fuqua, MIT, almost all the B schools that I applied to had something or the other in sustainability space, which attracted me towards these schools.
Excellent, awesome. Okay, what are some of the other questions? How does it work when one applies with company sponsorship? How does that affect one's story or narrative when writing essays? Thank you. Did anyone of you have company sponsorship? Not to my memory, but no. Okay, so let me answer this question. Antonio, the way it works when you apply with company sponsorship is there is a certain degree of comfort that the school has that your post MBA employment is taken care of. Okay. So what they will try to see is that doesn't mean that just because your post MBA employment is taken care of, it definitely makes the application easier. It's not exactly like that. A lot of other factors which we have been talking about: resume, essays, letters of recommendation, all those things, extracurriculars, leadership experiences, all those will definitely come into play. However, if your company is sponsoring you, it adds a bit of that weight to your profile. Just make sure that your post MBA goals are very comprehensive. Let's say if you're going from a non-business, let's say a technical role into a business role, then it's a no-brainer, right? And then that career path makes sense. And if you're fit with a particular school is absolutely right, then company sponsorship will definitely help. For others, I also want to share that even if a company doesn't give you sponsorship, in your letters of recommendation, if you have your current supervisor writing one of your letters of recommendation, and they do write that we would be uh, for these reasons, and there should be specific examples in your letters of recommendation. For these reasons, we would really be keen to have this person back in this kind of a role. That I think definitely plays a big role in your applications for sure. Now let's talk about interviews. Okay, I would like Rohan to talk about interviews, because Rohan and I worked very closely on the whole interview aspect. And Rohan, I want you to share, without kind of, specifically taking name of a particular school or whatever. I want you to share your interviewing experience. How did that go for you, and what was your learning?
Sure. Thanks, Preeti. So I think I applied to three schools in round one, and I got waitlisted from all of those three, and which kind of pushed me towards thinking, my interview strategy. So in an interview is usually, it has two main aspects. One is they have some standard questions like why MBA, why now, why this particular school, and how will you contribute, which are standard questions, and one should prepare those answers. However, apart from that, it's very conversational, and it can go in different directions based on whatever one answers in those questions, as well as some pointers on your resume. So one of the things, like for example, which can come across as a curveball is a question for which you've not prepared, or if your school research is not good enough. So when I after getting waitlisted in round one, I kind of saw a couple of questions where I was not well prepared. Like for example, I had an interest in entrepreneurship, and sometime down the road after an MBA, one of the schools asked me, the interview asked me that, can you quote any startups in that specific industry which have, let's say, incubated in this particular university. And I really struggled there. I fell short on my school research. And, going forward, I sort of made sure that, these small things are covered in for any school that I'm interviewing. Secondly, I think, the conversational aspect of it is something which schools want to see who you are, and it's very natural. However, at the same time, you have to keep it professional. Just because it's conversational doesn't mean that you can be really frank. I think it's a professional interview at the end of the day. So but I really focused in round two that my tone and my answers come across as professional and well thought. I got all my admits in round two, so that worked out really well. I guess that's the learning. So don't give up and just keep learning from your mistakes, basically.
Okay, that's great. If the other thing I wanted to ask is, to Shubhangi and Shweta, what questions would you recommend applicants should or ask or not ask the interviewer after an interview? What insights would you share from your experiences?
So for me, in one of the schools, I already knew who my interviewer was going to be. So I had kind of looked her up and like all the things on the LinkedIn, and I had a little bit of background on her, and that's why I was able to make more personalized, customized questions. I think really worked well because I saw that once I asked her, she really warmed up to me, and she spent a lot of time in detailing out her experience. So I think if you already know who your interview is, you can do that little bit of prep before forming your questions.
Yeah. Adding
Sure,
on to
sure.
what Shubhangi said, so one thing that you need to keep in mind is that you are interviewing the school as much as they are interviewing you, because it's a huge commitment. It's a $200,000 commitment. So do not ask questions just for the sake of them. Just like have some questions prepared beforehand that will actually help you in decision, in actually deciding whether you want to go to the school if you get an admit or not. So if it's an adcom, you can have specific questions. For example, for me, given that I wanted to go into tech, the burning question was, what is the status of recruitment for tech? Like, what are you going to do to combat this mass layoff and this recession in the tech industry? If it was an alum, I would like ask them about like what were the long term benefits of going to this particular school. And if it was a student, I would just ask them like regarding their resources, what their experience has been like so far. So it's all completely up to you, but basically just make sure that you're asking questions not just to impress the interviewer, but actually you want to get some answers that will help you in your decision.
Awesome. I think this is great. I think um we whenever I'm interviewing, I tell everyone, please do not ask questions for which answers are easily found on the website. Okay. Or say something that oh, this should have come up in the person's research. So typically I recommend that you start your interview prep along with the application early on. It's an important component of the application. It doesn't only come, okay, now I have been invited to an interview. Now, you know what? Always practice one interview question a week, and write down answers. I think there's a whole different webinar which I already did, which is on the Red Pen's YouTube channel on just about interview prep. And I think it's an often overlooked aspect of the application process. All right, we're already over time, okay, and I don't see any more questions. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have a final word, from each one of you. These guys can be reached on their LinkedIn profile. We're not, for confidentiality reasons, I'm not going to share their email addresses or anything over here. But I think if you see their names, you can definitely find them on LinkedIn. If you have any questions after this, also, if you reach out to us at the Red Pen, if you want to reach out to any one of them, feel free, but we will have to only take their permission and then connect you with them. Okay. Um, Now, as final words, okay, I want each of the panelists to kind of just talk about, in this entirely long drawn process, some of you gave standardized tests more than once, like Aditya mentioned, some of you faced rejections, like Hardik mentioned. How did each of you stay motivated throughout the journey, right? I want you all to just share that. And what would be your advice to someone who's in your shoes where you were last year this time? I want everyone to share this. So anyone can go first and we'll just do a round robin.
Yeah, so maybe I can start. So can you hear me, right? Yeah. Just checking it again. So I think my 2 cents will be yes, it's a very long and exhausting process. So it's always good to have a set of people around you who are almost on the same boat as you. Like maybe they can be friends, fellow applicants, sometimes experts like consultants. Not just for providing feedback or reviewing your essays or all of those things, but just to motivate you in times when you are low, just to give you candid feedback sometime, and be a sounding board sometime, right? Because you will be frustrated because it is a multi-part process, and it is a very long process. So having that core group along with you, I think it helped me. So yeah, that would be my advice. I think all the other aspects of essays, GMAT and all, we covered that already. So yeah.
I can probably go next. So I think, I completely agree with Aditya there. I had a small group of my own, and we all were applying together, and we were applying to similar schools as well. So if somebody's going through a stressful time, it was generally recommended that you talk within the group and sort of help each other out. That being said, I would say that it is a long run process, and I started off my journey in April last year, so similar timeline, and I sort of knew that this would be a 9 to 12 month journey. So having that time frame in your mind sort of helps you see that, okay, till what time do you have to put in this much effort, and just to keep on taking lessons from your mistakes and working on them. And I would say start early, because starting early will give you that advantage to sort of research the school very well, which would strengthen your application for sure, and will also give you enough confidence to, let's say, stand out in the interviews, and sort of give that impression to the school that you are really interested in joining them. So for instance, a friend of mine, she applied to 8 schools, and she got rejected from 7 of them. But the one school where she got in, and that was Kellogg, she applied about 3 weeks before the application deadline, which is, I don't know if that's a parameter or not, but it definitely shows interest towards that school. So I got that advice for the school as well, and I did not follow it. So it's basically coming from there. But yeah, just keep your eyes on the target, and just remember you have to get into one school, because as Preeti said, every school is a great place to be in. It would be a really different and really unique experience for you. So do not get attached to these global rankings, or any other issues, which are any other factors which are associated with these schools and their perception. Wherever you'll end up, you'll do great, and just keep that in mind, and just keep working hard towards it.
Excellent words, Ron. Excellent words.
Adding on to what Aditya and Rohan already said, so for me specifically in round one, I was waitlisted in both the schools that I applied to, and in round two, I decided that okay, I have to like cast a wider net. So I think the main advice would be that don't give up, be resilient. This is a process where there are a lot of things that are out of your control, so only worry about things that are actually in your control, that is your GMAT score, putting together an excellent essay, putting together a very good resume. Everything else, something that these are things that you cannot control. For example, the diversity, the class, how the class looks like, these are things that adcoms have to worry about. There's nothing you can achieve by worrying about them until the decision day. So that's one thing that you need to keep in mind, that actually keeps you going. Just like do whatever you need to do. And the second thing is, do not give up on your hobbies and interests for this duration. So I many a times I thought that okay, I have this deadline coming up and I might not do, for example, my hobby is playing the piano. So I would think that okay, I won't play the piano until I apply, until I submit my application. But that actually ended up being even more stressful for me. So do pursue the things that are de-stressing activity for you on a day-to-day basis. Do not give up on those hobbies. It's an MBA process. Like you can always reapply next year if you didn't get in this year. So it's not the end of the world. So yeah, that's one thing that actually kept me going. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, completely agreeing to this. Even I gave up a lot of things during my MBA application process, cancelled a lot of trips just to focus on application. But I think, yeah, it is really important to stick to the plan, but also enjoy the entire process right from the start. The other advice I would give is hedge your bets properly, right? Whenever you are doing so, just make sure you at least have by the end of the process you have one school where you have an admit, so that you don't walk in handy, and be comfortable with the worst case scenario, because you can always apply next year, and it's not the end of the world.
Correct. I agree with that. And I am, because of the lack of paucity of time, I think two things which I could not cover was reapplications, and I could not cover waitlist. And we have applicants with both these, in the panel. But Shubhangi, I think final words from you.
Yeah, and I think in today's day and age, there's just like too much information available on the internet. Just don't just go and keep comparing your profile and someone else's profile and why he got an interview and why I didn't. Just don't do that. It messes with your head. Have patience with yourself, and you'll get definitely get into a great school, which is a perfect fit for you.
Excellent. I think, I may sound very old, but I feel like a proud parent. Okay, and I feel like a proud parent. I think at this time every year, and I think this is why, because when it's, I mean, you guys go through it once. We go through this every year. We are as invested, and in the background, the we work as a team at the Red Pen. We don't have one person who does everything. So all of us are invested. All of us are discussing all applicants every single week, and every time we are taking updates on what's happening here, what's happening there, stepping in, stepping out as required. So I think, I hearing all these words from you guys, you feel you all seem like these amazing evolved individuals, and this is such amazing advice. I think I should just send all these applicants to you, that just talk to these people, that don't just go nuts and drive us nuts. But I think I'm just very happy to have had this opportunity to have you all on this panel. I hope that more people reach out to you all. People have already said some nice things over here. um, Someone is saying lovely session, great insight. Thank you so much, it really matters a lot. Now someone has asked a question: for us, do all schools have STEM MBA degree? Not all, but it you should do include that in your school research. If the 3 year OPT matters a lot, then definitely I think every top school definitely has. And so I think that is, if that definitely covers it all. All right, thank you so much for taking the time out on a Monday evening and joining me. I hope everyone who's watching us all over the world, um, get some inspiration from these folks. And like, there's this scroll bar, it's written: if you need a consultation with the Red Pen, do reach out to us at www.theredpenmba.com. And do more than us, reach out to these panelists. Don't bombard them with too many questions, otherwise they might just be like, okay, what just happened? So but I think these are the people, I think, who've shared some amazing wise words. And I think, we wish you all the best in your business school journey, and you deserve all the success. And I'm sure you'll make your school absolutely proud. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining, and have a lovely evening. Goodbye.
Thank you, Preeti.